He bought me diamonds the morning he planned to destroy me. I kept the diamonds. I buried the man. New York City, October 1924. Elliot Ashford is dead. His wife is not crying. She's already thinking about dinner. Her name was Vivienne Ashford, née Delacroix, a French Creole girl from New Orleans who had learned by 18. That beauty was currency, and intelligence was power. And that a woman who combined both could buy herself almost any life she chose. She chose Elliot Ashford. It was the worst investment she ever made. This is the story of what she bought with it anyway. Solomon Gray had known Vivienne for 3 years. He'd met her the same way everyone in New York eventually met her. Through her husband. Elliot Ashford threw parties, the way other men threw punches. Strategically, without mercy, to establish dominance. His penthouse on Park Avenue was a monthly theater of power. And Vivienne was his most prized prop. She stood at his side with a glass of champagne she never drank, and smiled at men she found ridiculous. She was magnificent. Solomon could see, even from across a crowded room, that she was also desperately, quietly furious. Elliot had built his fortune in steel and conducted his marriage like a business merger. Vivienne had signed herself over at 23, believing that love would come with time, that his coldness was armor, that somewhere beneath the control was something worth finding. She found nothing, just more control, more armor, more silence. For 5 years, she had been the perfect wife, dressed perfectly, spoke perfectly, smiled at every dinner, every function, every performance. And then, on a Tuesday in March of 1924, she found the letters. The letters were from Elliot's solicitor. More precisely, they were from Elliot's solicitor to Elliot, outlining in the dry language of legal arrangements the final steps of a plan that had been 18 months in the making. Elliot intended to have her committed, not because she was unwell, because she had become inconvenient, because there was a younger woman, a banker's daughter from Boston, whose family connections were more useful than a French Creole beauty from New Orleans, who was, in Elliot's own words in the margin of one document, getting too clever for her own good. She stood in that study for 11 minutes. She counted. Then she put the letters back, tied the green ribbon, closed the safe, walked to her bedroom, sat at her vanity, and began to plan. "I need a pianist," Vivienne said, "and I need an alibi." Solomon looked up from the documents. "And a miracle by the look of this." "No," she said, "just chemistry." Solomon Gray had studied at Howard University before the war, before Harlem, before the piano became his entire world. He knew exactly what she meant by chemistry. He knew exactly what she was asking him to witness. He said yes. He said yes because he had watched Elliot Ashford treat this woman like furniture for 3 years. And he said yes because somewhere beneath the music and the cigarettes and the careful professional distance he kept, He knew that if their lives had been arranged differently, if she had been free when he met her, he would have said yes to almost anything she ever asked. The thing about betrayal is this: it requires patience. Any fool can react in rage. The damage is usually to themselves. What requires intelligence? What Elliot never credited her with is the slow, methodical unmaking of someone who believes themselves untouchable. Vivienne spent 6 weeks doing what she had always done at his parties, performing. Some women are pushed to the edge of everything, and some of them don't step back. She had not expected this. She had planned every variable, except for Elliot moving first. The separate decanter was not coincidence. Elliot did not do coincidence. He was going to have her committed before morning. The papers were already signed. The physician, a man who did not ask questions, when Elliot Ashford wrote the check, was expected at midnight. Vivienne looked at the glass of brandy. She smiled at her husband. She picked it up, and she poured it in one smooth and gracious motion into the orchid arrangement beside her, while turning to say something charming to the woman on her left, a senator's wife who would later testify. That Vivienne Ashford had been delightful all evening. "He knows," Solomon said. "I know he knows," Vivienne said. "Then it's tonight." "Yes," she said, "it's tonight." Here is what you need to understand about Vivienne Ashford. She was not a violent woman. She was not even, by instinct, a cruel one. She was a woman who had been given, at the age of 23, a choice that was not really a choice. Between safety and freedom. Between hunger and gilded captivity. And who had chosen the cage. And who had lived inside it for 5 years. With the patience of someone who intended, eventually, to walk out. Tonight was the night she opened the door. "I found your letters," Vivienne said. A pause, 1 second, then. "Which ones?" She had known him long enough to know that this was Elliot's version of admission. The ones with the green ribbon. He drank, set the glass down, looked at her with those ice-blue eyes. The eyes she had once thought were beautiful, and now understood were simply cold. "I see," he said. "Do you?" she asked. "I'm not sure you do, not yet." "You have 2 choices," Vivienne said. "You can sit down, listen to me, and we can discuss terms. Or I can take what I have to the district attorney's office in the morning. Because, Elliot, you made a very significant error." He stopped. "You used your own handwriting," she said, "to annotate documents about having a legally competent woman committed for personal convenience. That's not just a divorce proceeding. That is fraud." The whiskey glass was very still in his hand. "Sit down," she said, and he did. Among the documents she placed on his desk were 3 things Elliot Ashford had never intended her to see. The first was the commitment papers, with his annotations in his own hand. The second was a letter much older, from before their marriage, in which a business partner described a transaction that was not by any legal measure legitimate. The third was a photograph. He looked at the photograph for a long time. "Where did you get this?" he said very quietly. "The same place I get everything," she said, "by paying attention." "While you assumed I was decorating." "What do you want?" he said. She had been waiting 5 years for this sentence. "Everything that was mine before you," she said. "My freedom, my name, the one I was born with." A sum sufficient to make the question of need permanently irrelevant. And the letters about the Boston girl burned in front of me. He turned from the window. She could see him calculating, running the numbers on exposure, on scandal, on everything her evidence could cost him, against what she was asking. And if I agree, then Elliot Ashford signs papers in the morning and has a quiet heart attack sometime before the year is out, she said. Natural causes, the best death money can arrange. Everyone is very sad. A silence. And if I don't? Then the district attorney's office opens at 8, she said. I am an early riser. Elliot Ashford signed the papers at 9:00 a.m. His hands were steady. He had, Vivienne noted, the discipline of a man who had survived many difficult negotiations. She had, she noted, the patience of a woman who had been surviving difficult negotiations her entire life. The difference was that she had finished first. Elliot Ashford died on the 14th of November, 1924. Heart failure, the coroner said, consistent with his age and the stress of his business affairs. A tragedy, everyone agreed. Though it must be said the sympathy was largely professional. His will, redrawn 4 weeks before his death. Under terms, Vivienne did not disclose to anyone. Left the bulk of his estate in trust. Managed by an attorney who answered only to Vivienne Delacroix. Her legal name, restored by deed of court. The Boston girl received a letter of condolence. And nothing else. Will you tell me, Solomon said, what you said to him that last night? I told him the truth, she said. Which truth? That a man who treats a woman as a possession forfeits the protection of her loyalty. Solomon was quiet for a moment. Then, and the diamonds, you kept the diamonds. She smiled, that real smile unperformed, reaching her eyes. He bought them to impress other men, she said. I'm keeping them to impress myself. She walked out of Elliot Ashford's funeral into a clean October afternoon. The sky was very blue, the diamond on her right hand. Bought, as he had once told her, for $3,000. Because a man in his position could not appear cheap. Caught the light and threw it back. She walked 2 blocks to where Solomon's car was waiting. She got in. They drove south. She never looked back. Vivienne Delacroix spent 5 years inside a cage, built by a man who mistook her patience for weakness. She did not escape it. She dismantled it, bolt by bolt. With the tools he never thought to take away from her. Her intelligence, her observation, and the way people always underestimate a beautiful woman who says very little. Here's what stays with me. She had the evidence to destroy him from the beginning. She could have walked into any lawyer's office and walked out free, but she chose to understand everything, every document, every vulnerability, before she moved even one piece on the board. If Vivienne had walked away the morning she found those letters, if she had taken only her freedom and left the rest behind, do you think she would have been at peace? Or is there a part of every person who has ever been underestimated that needs not just to leave, but to be seen leaving? Tell me what you think in the comments. I read every single one.